If UFOs or unidentified aerial phenomena aren't real, the United States government sure has expended considerable resources into studying them. And some of these declassified secrets are so incredible, one has to ask, what does the government really know about what's going on in our skies? Find out in today's episode of the Infographics Show, 50 insane declassified FBI UFO secrets you didn't know. Number 50. U.S. sensors are extraordinarily advanced. One of the biggest challenges in studying UAPs is gathering data on objects that seem to defy the laws of physics. The United States military has many sensors specifically suited to detect hostile aircraft. But what the world has never known is just how advanced they really are. Turns out they are probably somewhere in the realm of science fiction. In an interview, Dr. Robert McGuire, a research physicist with 27 years' experience working with the government and intelligence community, stated, "These instruments have exquisite capabilities. People just cannot begin to imagine just how amazing these assets are." Number 49. How to track UFOs. When asked about UFOs, Dr. McGuire stressed their non-conventional flight characteristics. However, according to him, he believes that we have the technology to track these objects on a global scale by measuring their black body or thermal radiation. A global system of infrared satellites could thus theoretically track UFOs. And it just so happens the US has just such a system designed to detect global missile launches. In fact, it's so sensitive, it can even track the launch of anti-ship missiles by Houthis in the Middle East. Number 48. UFOs use acoustic camouflage. Dr. Bruce Cornett, a now retired independent researcher, was quoted in a Begin Sadat Center for Strategic Studies paper as describing how UAP will often mimic the acoustic signatures of commercial jet aircraft. Cornett documented that one cigar-shaped object stopped in midair and rotated 180 degrees, mimicking the sound of a conventional jet engine. Other UAPs have been caught mimicking propeller sounds, yet they failed to produce a natural Doppler effect. Dr. Cornett believes that it all comes down to anti-gravity technology. According to his research, these craft distort outgoing sound waves, warping them in ways that defy traditional physics. That means to an observer on the ground, the sound is there, but something about it feels off. But what is the government saying about this? Number 47. U.S. Senate confirmed that UAP are being reported everywhere. A U.S. Senate committee investigating UAPs has confirmed that these unidentified objects aren't just the stuff of rumors and conspiracy theories. The government has hard data collected through some of its most advanced intelligence gathering systems. This includes geospatial tracking from the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO, and National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA. There's also signals intelligence intercepted by various branches of the U.S. military and eyewitness accounts from human intelligence sources, including military personnel. The Department of Energy has also shown a keen interest in UAPs given the overwhelming number of sightings and encounters near nuclear facilities. However, the official line is they are drones. The evidence is there, but what about close encounters? Number 46. UFO chased an electronic warfare plane. In 1957, the most definitive proof of a non-human origin for UAP was gathered with the help of an electronic warfare aircraft flying a training mission over the Gulf of Mexico. The event would be downplayed by the government, but witness statements from the crew would be collected. Further ground radar reports confirmed all of the flight crew's observations of the craft as it chased them for over 600 miles across the southern United States. The encounter remains unsolved, with explanations covering everything from misidentification to classified military operations. Number 45. The perfect tool for the job. The 1957 incident just happened to involve the perfect tool for verifying the existence and non-human origin of UFOs or UAP. The aircraft, an advanced electronic warfare platform equipped with highly sensitive electronic countermeasure gear, recorded being bombarded at close range by an incredibly powerful radar beam. The signal was so intense that if it had originated from a human-made radar system, the transmitting antenna would have needed to be the size of a football field. The object emitting this beam also flew 180 degrees past the aircraft from wingtip to wingtip, making it impossible that the ECM gear was somehow misidentifying a ground radar station. The incident was so convincing that even the controversial Condon report, which set out specifically to disprove UFOs, had to admit it was unexplained. Number 44. U.S. secret leak leads to explosion in hoaxing. UFO hoaxes have existed almost since the beginning of the modern UFO craze, sparked by Kenneth Arnold's famous 1947 sighting. However, an accidental leak of U.S. secret technology may have played a major role in fueling the explosion of hoaxes. During World War II, an unknown inventor developed a silent catapult system capable of launching a large metallic disc several miles without a sound. Years later, as reports of flying discs flooded the media, the inventor grew concerned that his classified invention was being exploited to fake UFO sightings. He contacted the FBI requesting access to War Department files to confirm whether his technology had been compromised. The FBI's report reveals his unease that a secret wartime project might have inadvertently sparked a wave of deception and possibly even influenced early UFO reports. Number 43. The government's official decree to lie about UFOs. For decades, critics have accused the government of systematically lying about UFOs. They argue that investigations like Project Grudge or Project Blue Book were never meant to reveal the truth. Instead, they claim those efforts were designed to control the narrative, ensuring that regardless of their findings, the official response would always be denial or dismissal. It turns out they were right. On October 18, 1950, a letter was issued to the commanding officer of the Air Materiel Command at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It instructed the Air Force to respond to all press inquiries about UFO investigation results with the following official statement: "We have investigated and evaluated the incident and have found nothing of value and nothing which would change our previous estimates on this subject." Despite being instructed to deny any anomalous findings, the same memorandum requested that any information on UFOs be relayed to higher headquarters for possible intelligence value. Number 42. Keeping people out of the loop. A similar memorandum from October 12, 1950 referenced UFO photographs that had been sent to Air Force intelligence for analysis. A Colonel Watson requested permission to release details of the investigation to the press, but was instead ordered to use the standard denial statement. Additionally, the memorandum explicitly banned UFO investigations from being included in the Air Force's daily staff digest, further restricting official discussion of the phenomenon. Number 41. Secret investigations. Despite Project Grudge officially ending in 1949 with the conclusion that UFOs were misidentified natural or man-made phenomena, an October 1950 memo ensured investigations would continue. The memo assigned Air Materiel Command responsibility for ongoing UFO research. It also granted the command full authority to access any Air Force resources deemed necessary, depending on the, quote, importance of the incident. Number 40. Air Force personnel were seeing UFOs as well. The same memo outlines two distinct paths for handling UFO reports. It makes clear the Air Force prioritized the credibility of its own pilots. It stated that any UFO reports from USAF personnel would be immediately forwarded to the commanding general of Air Materiel Command. This revelation is especially relevant today, given the public testimony of U.S. Navy pilots involved in high-profile UFO incidents and the skepticism directed at them. While the public may have questioned the credibility of military pilots, the military itself did not. Their UFO reports were taken so seriously that they were immediately forwarded to the commanding general of Air Materiel Command. Number 39. Air Force requested destruction of classified documents. A memo from the Department of the Air Force on September 25, 1950, requested that a top-secret report be immediately destroyed. The report summarized a national study of UFOs, and it was called the Top Secret Air Intelligence Report number 100-203-79, and it was released in 1948. Such a request is highly unusual, but it seems to have been carried out. Number 38. Fighters intercepted by UFO. Even as the Air Force publicly claimed UFOs were not real, a secret memo to the commanding general of Air Materiel Command in December of 1950 documented a startling UFO encounter. The memo states that the initial conclusion could be that the object encountered was a lighted balloon, which had frequently been mistaken for UFOs by the public and military alike. However, the craft displayed characteristics that make such a conclusion impossible. The memo states that Lieutenant Haven had his jet fighter intercepted by a bright light that moved much faster than any jet aircraft. The light circled his aircraft while displaying extraordinary speed and maneuverability. The memo ends by requesting a review of the incident, with Air Materiel Command being informed of the results. Curiously, while the memo was declassified, the attached witness statement describing the incident was not. Number 37. The UFO crisis grows. Even while pushing the lie about UFOs, the Air Force was being bombarded with UFO reports from within the military. An extraordinary case from March 1950 reports an encounter by Continental Air Command with an object that moved with incredible velocities that far exceeded any known vehicles. The conclusion that this was unknown technology was supported by, according to the memo, the fact that the object hovered in place for 2 minutes in between bouts of incredible acceleration. Number 36. The UFO Salesman. One of the most curious declassified documents we came across was a letter addressed to the commanding officer of naval intelligence. Written by a former naval officer, the letter details a startling discovery made in Canada. While browsing private aircraft for sale, the officer encountered Professor Albert Hovings of Calgary, who claimed to possess a flying saucer-like craft. According to Hovings, the craft was capable of traveling from 0 to 1,600 miles per hour and could land on both air and water. He also stated that he had already flown the craft over the United States. Hovings reported that he had a strong hatred for the English and refused to bring the technology to Canadian authorities, but was interested in striking a deal with the U.S. Rather than dismissing the claim outright, a declassified memo reveals that Major Boggs of the Air Force took an interest in the case. While the memo officially states there is, quote, no credence to the claim of a flying saucer, it also suggests that the individual could be of importance to counterintelligence agencies. As a result, a formal investigation was approved. Number 35. Canadian government was meeting with UFO whistleblower. Recently, a set of documents have been released by the Canadian government after an Access to Information Act request. Their implications are mind-blowing. David Grush, a lifelong military and intelligence specialist, testified before U.S. Congress on the existence of a crash retrieval program run by a shadowy U.S. government group in cooperation with defense industry partners. According to Grush, this program has recovered numerous UFOs which were kept in the hands of private aerospace companies in order to avoid congressional oversight. However, the declassified Canadian documents show that a full year before Grush went public with his story, a Canadian Member of Parliament, Larry Maguire, had contacted Grush for a private meeting related to UAPs. Number 34. Preparing the world for UFOs? The released documents provide a summary of a conversation revealing that Congress was now fully aware of the reality of UAPs, according to Maguire and Grush. Maguire asks Grush if he knows of a planned schedule for gradually releasing UFO information to the public in order to acclimatize the general population. Grush responds, with some of the pilot videos that will be declassified, releasing them will be a good way to acclimatize the public. Grush further states, they have 80+ years of stigma to reduce and circumvent. Lots of governments, including the US, have not been forthcoming with their data. The summary then includes an entire section on US Space Command, or NORAD, sharing evidence with embedded Canadian personnel, but this portion is completely redacted. Number 33. Religion getting in the way. The conversation between Grush and Maguire then shifted to how Canada could best conduct its own UAP investigation. Maguire inquired whether the American UAP office would be willing to share its findings with Canada, allowing them to avoid reinventing the wheel. Although this portion of the conversation is redacted, one statement remains clear. The Tic Tac UAP encountered by the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group could only be explained as, quote, a non-human intelligently controlled craft. The object was not only visually observed by intercepting pilots, but also tracked by multiple sensors across the entire strike group, confirming its presence through independent data sources. However, according to Grush, the biggest roadblock in UAP investigations isn't a lack of data, it's the personal beliefs of senior government officials. The document states, a lot of them have religious belief systems or personal bubbles and don't want to deal with the problem, as they don't want their worldview flipped if UAP are confirmed as non-human intelligence. Number 32. This isn't the first time religion gets in the way. Grush's assertion that personal religious beliefs hinder U.S. investigations into UAPs is echoed by Lou Elizondo, the former head of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, or AATIP. Elizondo stated that multiple conservative members of Congress sought to halt all UAP investigations because they believed the phenomenon was, quote, demonic. Number 31. Not one type of alien, but many? The conversation between Maguire and Grush leads to Maguire asking whether the wide variation in reported UAPs, differing in size, shape, speed, and capabilities, suggests that the phenomenon may have multiple origins. Almost this entire section of the document is redacted. Sometimes in government documents, what they don't let you see speaks just as much as what they do allow the public to see. Number 30. The document proves Grush is likely not a liar. This declassified document from the Canadian military is exceptionally important for one main reason. It documents an interest by the Canadian government in David Grush a full year before he went public with his story. If the Canadian government was aware of Grush's claims before they were public, it supports Grush's testimony that he had previously briefed senior members of Congress on the secret UFO recovery program. Number 29. UFOs swarm Los Alamos. Los Alamos National Laboratory is known as the birthplace of the atomic bomb, and it remains to this day one of the most important national defense laboratories in all of the U.S. Back in 1947, as the UFO phenomenon was first gaining traction, a secret FBI memorandum revealed that UFOs had been spotted at the most sensitive site in all of the United States. In fact, the document states that the vicinity of Los Alamos is where sightings of UFOs appear to be concentrated, with numerous sightings throughout December 1948. And these weren't just random people witnessing these objects either. They included agents from the Office of Special Investigation, airline pilots, military pilots, and Los Alamos security inspectors, amongst private citizens. Barely a week into the new year, another UFO was spotted. Number 28. Increased concern. The sightings around Los Alamos grew in intensity to the point that the Office of Special Investigations issued a memo indicating serious concern with the, quote, continued appearance of unexplained phenomena described as green fireballs, disks, and meteors. This memo states that a meteor expert from the University of New Mexico reported the phenomena as not appearing to be of meteoric origin. Number 27. Classification of UFOs. The objects witnessed around Los Alamos fell into 3 different categories per the memo. First were green fireballs that moved at very high speeds. Sometimes they were observed to have a shape similar to a half moon, or a full circular disk that emitted green light. Next were round, flat disc-shaped objects that emitted a brilliant white light at night and reflected sunlight during the day. Then there were meteor-like objects that flew at incredible speeds and varied in color from bright white to amber or red or green. An astonishing 150 objects were recorded within just 2 years. Number 26. UFO invades American base. A declassified NORAD command director's log revealed an extraordinary set of events. The log refers to an unknown object labeled a helicopter, and yet it displayed no characteristics of a real helicopter. Further witness statements revealed that the helicopters were actually disc-shaped. According to the log, the Air Force Operations Center contacted NORAD concerning a helicopter landing inside the munitions storage area at Loring Air Force Base in Maine. At the time, the base hosted nuclear weapons and 80 secret storage bunkers. Incredibly, this was the second time that a helicopter had landed inside the base, and it was believed that this same helicopter had flown over Canadian bases to the north. We're halfway through these mind-blowing declassified UFO facts. What do you think? Are we being watched, or is there another explanation? Leave your thoughts below. Now let's get back to more close encounters. Number 25. More anomalous helicopters. Wurtsmith Air Force Base also reported their own helicopter incident. In the early hours of the morning, a helicopter hovered over the nuclear weapons storage area and then left. An Air Force tanker flying at 2,700 feet made visual contact with the object and even tracked it via radar over Lake Huron before it just disappeared. The next day, Loring Air Force Base once more reported being overflown by a, quote, helicopter. Number 24. Objects in the sky. NORAD once picked up a small invasion by unknown objects. Tracking them at 12,000 feet, several objects entered U.S. airspace. 2 F-106s were scrambled out of Great Falls, Montana and sent to intercept. Sabotage alert teams in Malmstrom Air Force Base reported seeing bright lights from the object, as well as jet sounds from the pursuing F-106s. The objects moved down to 300 feet before disappearing from radar. The F-106s returned to base, while Great Falls radar reported intermittent contacts with the objects. Within minutes, security personnel on the ground once again reported visual contact with the objects. When the jets returned, the objects appeared to turn off their lights. Number 23. UFO invasion of Malmstrom Air Force Base. One November night, NORAD received a call from the 341st Strategic Air Command Post stating that security teams at various missile silos were reporting a large object changing colors from red to yellow to orange. 2 hours later, an object was observed lighting up the driveway leading to a military facility. Either this or a different object was later spotted by a civilian over a nearby town, prompting a report to the military. Around that same time, a security team visually tracked the object through binoculars, describing it as having multiple lights with no obvious pattern. 30 minutes later, another object appeared, and according to witnesses, it was, quote, issuing a black tubular-shaped object from it. Despite these sightings, local radar systems reported nothing on their screens, adding to the mystery of the event. When the sun began to rise, the objects disappeared. Number 22. The invasion continues. The next day, though, the objects returned. First to spot them was a team at a missile silo, reporting a UFO with white lights and one red light 50 yards behind it. Personnel at a different silo confirmed the sighting. The objects, as many as 7 of them, were picked up between 10,000 and 13,000 feet, moving at 20 miles per hour. As radar continued to track them, the objects appeared capable of coming to a complete stop and then hovering in mid-air. When fighters were dispatched, they lost radar contact and the objects disappeared. This pattern was repeated across the facility, with the UFOs playing cat and mouse with the intercepting fighters. Anytime the fighters got close, the objects seemed to disappear, only to reappear when the fighters left, as witnessed by ground personnel. The objects were reported to ascend rapidly to an extreme altitude until it could no longer be distinguished from the stars. Number 21. Encore performance. The next night, 3 different crews at 3 different silos reported seeing a UFO with a bright yellowish light. 20 minutes later, another UFO appeared as an orange-white disc object at a different part of the missile range. Both UFOs appeared to be hovering stationary. At the same time, an FAA watch supervisor reported to NORAD that 5 different airliners were reporting a UFO that was moving like a meteor and was arc welder blue in color. On the ground, a security team was ordered to approach and get a closer look. The report then states that 3 hours later, no more UFOs were being reported. Number 20. Possible hostile intentions. A declassified Air Force teletype message from 1967 details an alarming incident involving a UFO once again over Malmstrom Air Force Base. After witnessing a large, round UFO hovering over one of the ICBM silos, 10 missiles went off alert status. An initial investigation revealed suspicions that the computers in the control centers must have been upset momentarily, and the message goes on to say that the cause of the upset is not known at this time. 2 engineers from Boeing were dispatched to investigate the matter. There was no apparent reason for the loss of the missiles and caused grave concern. Number 19. Are UFOs attracted to nuclear missiles? A 1966 report relays UFOs tracked near Minuteman nuclear missile sites at Minot Air Force Base. One object the size of a B-52 bomber was reported moving very slowly back and forth and up and down. Local radar confirmed the witness's sightings, tracking it moving from 100,000 feet to 4,000 feet, an impossible feat for conventional craft of the time. A second incident began with static cutting off radio communications, to be followed by the appearance of a large UFO. The UFO hovered for 15 minutes over the missile silo. At some point, the object climbed to 100,000 feet and rapidly descended, with local radar confirming visual sightings by security personnel on the ground. Number 18. Attempt at contact. The UFO in question then began a process of diving and climbing before seemingly landing 10 to 15 miles away. A fire team was dispatched to check on the object, but as they approached to within 10 miles of the landed object, their radios were overcome with static. Per the team who had eyes on the object as they approached closer, the object suddenly rose into the air. A second UFO appeared and was confirmed by local radar, with the first UFO passing underneath. The second UFO seemed to disappear within a red glow that it emitted, while the first sped away into the distance. Number 17. What does the government know? A bombshell 1948 report classified top secret makes it clear that the government has known the phenomenon was real from the start. Under Facts and Discussion, the report states that the frequency of sightings, consistent object characteristics, and credibility of observers support the reality of these flying objects. Number 16. Not misidentified. Skeptics often claim UFOs are merely misidentified phenomena, but the 1948 report directly contradicts that notion. It cites an incident near the U.S. Weather Bureau in Richmond, Virginia, where a well-trained observer saw strange metallic discs on 3 separate occasions. A second observer had also previously seen a similar object. Crucially, during all 4 sightings, UFOs and weather balloons were visible at the same time, making misidentification impossible. Number 15. Classic shapes. Even in 1946, the now classic shapes of UFOs were firmly established. The top secret report states that reported UFOs tend to fall into 3 categories: disc-shaped, elongated cigar-shaped, and balls of fire. Number 14. UFO hotspots. If you're looking to spot a UFO according to the declassified top secret report, the best place to be is on the coast. Per the report, sightings are most intensely reported along the Atlantic and Pacific coastlines, and also Ohio and Kentucky. Number 13. Red Scare. The report states that while the exact origin of these craft is undetermined, it leans toward a Soviet explanation. It cites the Soviets' access to German engineers who had worked on long-range bomber designs, as well as the capture of Dr. Gunther Bach, who had led Germany's flying wing program during World War II. The report theorizes that the Soviets may be trying to negate U.S. confidence in the atom bomb as the most advanced and decisive weapon in warfare, performing photographic reconnaissance, testing U.S. air defenses, or conducting familiarization flights over U.S. territory. Number 12. The Soviet explanation was a self-admitted reach. The top-secret report indicates that while the Soviet explanation was the preferred one, it acknowledges this being a significant reach. The report states that the Soviets would have had to make simultaneous breakthroughs in fuels, materials, and aircraft design, and it also admits that the Soviets had not yet caught up to the technical expertise of capitalist nations. If these breakthroughs were possible, though, some projected conventional aircraft designs could, according to the report, reach the lower limits of speed displayed by these objects. With the benefit of hindsight, we know that the Soviets never accomplished these feats and never introduced a flying wing design aircraft, let alone one that could reach the continental U.S. Number 11. CIA UFO concerns. The CIA would claim to have no interest in UFOs, yet time and again documents have been declassified or leaked that showed America's premier spy agency kept very close tabs on UFOs abroad. In 1952, a UFO report was sent to Langley on a UFO incident that occurred over a Belgian uranium mine. As uranium is used in nuclear weapons, this was naturally of great interest to the CIA. The report, itself a summary of foreign media reporting on the incident, states that fiery discs were spotted by locals in the vicinity of the mine. A British fighter pilot with experience in World War II gave chase to the craft and provided a detailed visual report before the craft sped away too fast to catch. Number 10. Air Force investigates Greenland UFOs. Since the end of World War II, Greenland has become one of America's most important strategic partnerships. From here, U.S. radar installations protect northern NATO countries from Russian nuclear weapons or air raids. In 1953, a U.S. Air Force F-93 was on a training flight over the wintry island when the crew spotted a large, slightly oblong object in the distance. It was glowing brighter at the head and intensely white, flying from south to north. The object was moving so quickly that it was spotted only for between 3 to 5 seconds before disappearing, and neither the aircraft nor ground radar ever managed to track it. Number 9. UFOs over the frozen north. The Greenland incident was just one of many sightings reported over the years. Locals have long described strange lights moving as fast as meteors, but with the ability to stop, hover, or change direction instantly. Historically, UFO activities in the region increased significantly following the construction of U.S. Air Force radar installations and airfields at the start of the Cold War. As seen in many declassified government documents, UFOs appear to have a strong correlation with American military activity, especially nuclear weapons. Number 8. UFO over Geneva, New York. At a time when the Air Force is supposed to be out of the UFO business, it was busy investigating UFO reports in New York. A declassified Air Intelligence Information report details the sighting of a UFO with a disc-like shape near Geneva, New York. The primary witnesses observed the UFO for about a minute, noting that it moved at a speed somewhere between a propeller-driven aircraft and a jet, while briefly lingering over the area. When the witnesses ran to summon a neighbor and her child, the object was no longer visible. However, its sound remained in the area for 2 to 3 minutes at the same volume as when it had been directly overhead. Number 7. UFOs invade nuclear weapons storage depot. The following incident comes from one of our very own staff members who was a witness to the event in question. The event occurred in 2007 at the Area 2 Nuclear Weapons Storage Depot in Nellis Air Force Base. On the night in question, bright lights resembling a vehicle appeared on a nearby mountainside, and the witnesses who were on the exterior patrol outside of the fenced-in restricted area moved into a blocking position. Believing the object to be truck headlights, they planned to surprise the occupants as they approached the restricted facility. The headlights, however, vanished, only for approximately 10 minutes later for security patrols in the interior of the facility to witness lights surrounding the witnesses, who were approximately around 980 feet from the perimeter fence line in the desert. Number 6. Ambushed by UFOs. The incident escalated when 3 lights appeared, positioned at 12, 9, and 3 o'clock relative to the witnesses. According to our staff member, who was the team leader of the patrol, it felt as if they were surrounded on 3 sides. Despite interior patrols clearly seeing the lights, he, his partner, and a canine unit with them could see nothing at all. Then, over the radio, an interior patrol suddenly warned that the lights were rushing their position. The team leader ordered his personnel to load their weapons and braced for an encounter, but nothing happened. Number 5. Missing time. Eventually, the team made its way back to the perimeter fence line after realizing they had lost radio contact with the interior. As they approached the perimeter fence, their radio suddenly came to life, and the team discovered that they had lost approximately 20 minutes of time. According to our staff member, none of the personnel involved, including himself, could account for the missing 20 minutes. Number 4. UFOs love nuclear weapon sites. Our staff member states that UFOs were occasionally spotted by security personnel, especially at night. After the installation of a powerful mast-mounted thermal camera, objects emitting great amounts of heat could be seen moving across the mountaintops that surrounded the facility. Yet neither the naked eye nor night vision could pick up anything out of the ordinary. According to him, he was well prepared, however, as the very first night he began working there, a UFO appeared on the site's perimeter. Number 3. The fence line UFO. According to our staff member and official written statements, an alarm was triggered on the interior perimeter fence. From a vantage point half a mile away and 100 feet in elevation, he observed a security patrol approaching the disturbance, only to find a beach ball-sized sphere of bright white light resting directly on the topmost part of the fence. When the security patrol approached by vehicle, the light began to take off down the fence line as if on rails. Eventually, 2 more patrols joined in the chase until the fence turned to the right over a large culvert, and the UFO took a hard left out into the desert night. Number 2. The government is lying. Declassified documents revealed that the U.S. government was aware of these strange crafts from the very beginning, initially believing them to be highly advanced Soviet technology developed after World War II. However, as evidence mounted that the Soviets had made no such breakthroughs, the U.S. government's intense interest in UFOs remained. According to David Grush, whose credibility is further supported by declassified Canadian documents, this is because the U.S. has recovered crashed UFOs and is actively attempting to reverse engineer them. Number 1. The UFO threat. Many argue that if UFOs posed a threat, they would have shown overt hostility by now. However, recently leaked conversations from senior military officials suggest a far more unsettling possibility. According to some of America's highest-ranking military leaders, the behavior historically observed in UFOs mirrors a key phrase of U.S. military strategy: the deep intelligence and reconnaissance conducted in preparation for war. Do these declassified UFO documents prove that the government knows more than it's letting on? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Now go check out This Will Happen When the Government Confirms Aliens Exist, or click on this video instead.